Hello, everybody. This is the Aquarium Medium. Thank you so much for joining me today. As you can see, I have the oil spill off of Huntington Beach that happened on October 3rd, Sunday evening at 7:40. And then I have the natal chart of California on the right. You know, a lot of people are really concerned about the drama with Facebook and the President Putin, and these things are a distraction. A lot of times what comes to us over the radio waves are nothing but distractions from the true purpose of our humanitarian causes that bring us to this earth. So I want to take a moment and just show you guys a little bit how I work and how I connect energies, not just through the houses and the attributes of the planetary spheres, but also through the connections that are made with degrees. You know, the degrees of, like, say, Jupiter here, 29 degrees and 45 minutes, the state of California in the future, it shines on the health of the planet. This is the spirit of truth house. It's not just about technology and all the modern terms that we have attributed to. It still remains an ancient wheel, this wheel of energies, this wheel of God that is created and then will transform, because everything transforms. So California is transforming, and we can see it with the Huntington Beach oil spill. We can see that Jupiter in this 11th house of the humanitarian causes is at 22 degrees and 39 minutes in Aquarius. So there's an expansion with the spirit of truth. In the future, it shows that there's this expansion and there's a shakeup. There's a shakeup in the water. And as you can see, Neptune is also here. So we have Jupiter, Pallas, and Neptune. And these attributes are telling a story. All of these attributes are actually telling a story. And this story has to do with God's will being done, Vulcan, this dissolving of the health in the future. And it's critical with Jupiter. It's critical that we learn from the mistakes of our past, that this oil spill expands the health of California. It gives a shakeup with the waters, and this is set into motion. And it also is not just about the present day. It goes back to all of time, because energy only transforms. It does not die. It doesn't die out. So we can see that 1253 is also coming into the nodes of 1252. So Jupiter and Pallas. Jupiter is coming into Vulcan. Pallas is coming into the degrees of the nodes, the lunar nodes, that gains a lot of attention here in the 10th house at 1252. So as the callers are calling in saying, hey, I smell something, there's an expansion in the waters, and it has to do with our future. It also has to do with Saturn. Here is the 10th house and Saturn with Pluto, the midheaven. We have Saturn at 655. We know that Kamala went to California and Palm Springs on Friday. She left Saturday and she met with who knows who, but she was about an hour and a half, 2 hours from Huntington Beach, northwest. I believe that's where she was. Anyway, nobody really knows, but Saturn here is about limits and obstacles for the future of the governing bodies. And there is a time for everything. This Saturn at 655 reaches Kamala. It hits her exactly at 655 with her magnetic field. Zeus, right here at home, about the health of home. And so whatever her meeting was about, is it a coincidence or not that her magnetic field is the same as Saturn that day? there are no coincidences. This 1105 goes to Edgar Casey's vertex, where he has this intense experience about this quick movement energy with 2323. And this intense experience is with governing bodies, it's with an authority. And in his creation, the way that he created with the power of his mind was in opposition. And as you can see, the home here grounds him for the future. And he sees things that are going to take place in the future. This oil spill is shining a light on the balance of our health, of the health of California. And the moon here is at 1011. Moon is reflected with 1011. The 1933 quake that took place after an oil spill in California goes to this magnetic field of the future at home. The future at home is public. It's about children and creativity. Sorry about the plane. And it also wants us to reflect back on this time. And I'm not going to go through all the attributes and the ways that it goes back into our times past. Like this 651 is reflective of the dream that Joe Brandt has in 1937, which is after this quake, because time in and of itself is symbolic of the serpent eating its tail. All of time is always happening. It's happening all the time. This Chiron in Taurus that we should learn from with the power of the mind, with 249, 2421. The 2421 is Eris. The Chiron of 249 is Vulcanus at home. So there is an explosion that happens at home. There is this discord that needs to be undone, and it's in the past because this is the 12th house of Pisces. The 654 with the oil spill is trying to tell us something. It's trying to tell us something about the partners and relationships, about God, about this 2235. There's a doorway here. And this doorway of 2235 is a doorway that begins in the first house. And there's something that happens when this quake went off, this 2235. Mercury was just at when the spill took place. It was 2235, and then it came down to 2234. And so these energies are telling us that the oil spill, not only does it go back in time, but we can see the future and how these energies are working. And, you know, Saturn being at the 655, coming into the 654, is prevalent to our times past with California. The magnetic field of California, what is hidden? What is hidden in the 8th house of death, rebirth, and regeneration is this power of the mind of 535 with Zeus. It's the magnetic field. It gives us a higher octave of death, rebirth, and regeneration. And guys, these numbers go back to our leaders as well. There is so much that we can learn from the degrees, how they touch one another, because these are connections that are made throughout life. All is spirit, you know, all is spirit. There are these numbers that go back to the governing bodies. Even this 1843 goes back to the governing bodies and what is going on in a deeper sense with California. Just like when we look at this higher octave of Mercury with the future and the governing bodies, the magnetic field of California is shown with this 1843 of death, rebirth, regeneration with Christ with Ceres. And this quick movement energy, the 2138 governs the 12th house, the 2907 governs the 11th house of the future with Christ and what he teaches us about energy and the death, rebirth, and regeneration of this 11th house. And when he says to follow him into this house, follow him into the house with the man carrying the pitcher. This is about the spirit of truth, the Holy Spirit. And Ceres, even though she is a nurturer, she is this mothering quality of subatomic realms. It's a part of this devouring quality of energy. And that is what shakes up the governing bodies in the future in time with California. We can see that the nodes are at 414. And when Kamala went to see Gavin, the nodes were at 418. And those lunar nodes being at 418 gave him an intense experience about the future, about the waters, about the 12th house of undoing and the mysticism of the future. And it's really interesting because the ways in which Gavin matched Christ, the ways in which he matches and connects to Tesla, to Vladimir Putin, and to other people, he is definitely being used to shake things up in the government with the monetary system, with the rebirth of Pluto as United States is gearing up for its Pluto return. And if we really pay attention, we can see their plan and how it is coming together. Because the wars that we used to see, we don't see anymore. You know, the mythology of the Greeks, of the ancients, of the ancient times, tell the same story over and over again, where Kronos, Saturn, the governing bodies devour their children. And the magnetic field is devoured as well. But the pattern holds true with Zeus because he sews up Dionysus in his hip. So the magnetic field, you know, there is no destruction when it really comes down to it. There's no destruction. There's no death. There is only a transformation of energy. This 336, you know, that J. Edgar Hoover has, that is his midheaven, it goes into this house, the house of home, this fourth house that's reflective and receptive. And it's about the earth and the volcanism that comes upon this dam. With J. Edgar Hoover, his creation exploded at home with possessions and monetary means with the future. And this 2950, you know, this is what is coming into focus today. When the oil spill took place, this 2934, and with the energies with Facebook, it also hit this. So Facebook is located in California. There was a takedown by another leader, and it definitely gave Mark Zuckerberg some darkness around his future and his security. This 2934 and then the 2950 coming in today, with Hygeia coming back into a 2934, sets the stage for more earthquakes. The 154 at home, this fourth house of the future, with God, with the waters, with Neptune. Of course, we can't see it because it's with 519. Goes back to the devouring energy that Casey had in the 8th house of what is hidden about the waters, about the mysticism of the state of California. And when he said that it would go into the sea, and he spoke about Japan and the other earth changes, it was because he was so connected with energies that go back to different events and that go back to the state of California. And of course, the United States, because the United States rises in 1221, and then he reflects on it with this 1222 about the volcanism with 1258. But what is really interesting is when the oil spill took place, what Casey worked with, this connection that he worked with in the public eye, in the unconscious that he made conscious, was at 2115. And what is hidden for the future with this Huntington oil spill is Neptune, 2115. So these energies are always at work. And I just kind of want to show you guys how they do work. And as this 2421 comes into the 2420, that is the burden of the future of Christ's values. Chiron at 1037 is in retrograde in the unconscious, and it is coming to that 1035 with the weight of matter in the ocean. What is going on with the ocean, with the life force? And there's this doorway of 1257 after an oil spill. That 1257 doorway is talking to us about Edgar Casey's Vulcanus, this volcano. This is where his action was. The action was teaching him about the wounds, the hidden wound. You see the 339, what is hidden within the earth changes. And he was reflecting powerful energy, and that was teaching him. The 2255, of course, goes to Christ's outer will. In his outer will, Christ for the future, this future, that 2255, he was a powerful leader. Casey was a powerful leader when it came to the visions and being a visionary, this gnosis of the future and of creativity, children, and the sun. The sun is our life force, and as we probe it and we use the directed energy, the sun is definitely paying attention, and there's an intense experience. It brings a higher octave of death. I mean, it's definitely going to teach us, but it definitely brings discord. And there's this devouring energy that we are using currently over the radio waves. The energy all over is constantly transforming at home. And it's critical that we understand that everything is connected. Everything is connected to the spirit world. And their main objective is for us to care for one another, to have self-care, and to care for the earth. So as far as Facebook going offline, making money, doing this and doing that, the earth changes are going to bring about, and they are coming, and they're going to bring about a true awakening for the entire world, for us to understand what it is that we truly value. What do we truly value? Because the United States having the Pluto return in February, we are feeling it now. And there's sacrifices that need to be made. Jesus was not perfect. He was a wholesome teacher, and he taught togetherness. And the 333 is a sacrifice. It's sacrificial. Not martyrdom per se, but we all come to sacrifice and to leave our mark here in this world. And the 333 is very symbolic as well for California, because in the 12th house, it's reflective of death, rebirth, and regeneration. And this is a sacrifice. And the moon reflects such a sacrifice. There's an emotional intensity, big drama that needs to be worked out with God. This moon is reflective of a crisis. And the wound comes with this energy, this quick movement energy of the plates. The plate's moving, being lubricated and just shifting and moving. And that is the wound. That is the wound of value. The values bring intensity to the mind. All is mind and matter. Out of chaos does come order. The connections that we make with one another, with different events, with what we create, is constantly undergoing evolution. And in this evolution will bring a revolution. Every time there is an evolutionary process and we go into another age, another era of spirit, and especially as we go into the era with the spirit of truth, a lot has to be dismantled and completely die out before we can begin again. And so the prophets before me, the prophets that will come after me, will prophesy, and we should definitely take heed without the distractions over the airwaves, because the prince of power over the air lies and deceives and distracts. And so as we go into the next few months, be prepared for a great worldwide shaking with Japan and California. As you can see, Pluto, this death, rebirth, transformation within the governing bodies that teaches us about Gavin's shakeup in the government, goes back to the higher octave of death, rebirth, and regeneration, and the nodes of the life path of Japan. And in the future, there's an expanse, a warring, a reflection, death, rebirth, regeneration, a shakeup, a wound. And this wound, this 1551, also goes back to the vertex of California at 1554, this intense experience with the earth shaking and trembling, with the plates shifting. The way Japan is transformed with health is volcanic. It's a volcanic explosion that takes place. So as the volcanoes continue to spew, as they continue to release pressure, we have to know that the physician with the death, rebirth, and regeneration of our values teaches us about death, rebirth, and regeneration, and how to heal one another, how to heal the earth. And he teaches us about the universal laws of the land that we really need to relearn. Unfortunately, humanity has to get taken down to its knees before it changes directions and repents the old ways that do not work, that do not sustain us into the future. Every event, everything I compare with Jesus, because he teaches me about the energies. Christ teaches me about the energies of not just us, who we are, but the different events and why they happen. So while everybody laughs about what happened with Facebook, just know that there is a deeper, bigger plan going on. And if you really want the truth, understand energies, understand the Christ within you, because even though I don't need this outer source to tell you what I feel, I can show you, because the numbers do not lie. The prince of power over the air, that's lies. The energies here do not lie. They tell a story, a deeper spiritual story that has taken place beneath the surface and beneath the earth's crust. And we need to take heed. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little synopsis of what I think is going on, what I see is going on, what I believe to be going on. And the teacher within me wants to teach you guys as well. So know that we're all here to sacrifice. We're all here to speak truth and nothing but the truth. And even though things will shake us up, they are to push us into another direction. So with that being said, I love you guys. You take care and, buckle up because the show is really, really just beginning. All right. We'll see you guys. Peace.